Hi guys. Hi everyone. I wanted to come on today to talk about 3 reasons why you've lost your creativity. And as is always the case, my life tends to go in parallel with the topics that I'm talking about here because it just makes it fresher for you and hopefully more helpful and more valuable. And I've been meaning to actually come on live and just to share my inspiration and share my creations and my art, and been wanting to talk about this topic for a while, and then I didn't. So I was kind of feeling, a little stuck, which, ironically, which is what I'm coming on here to talk about, and I will go through why now I'm coming back to talk about it, and because I'm coming up with so many more ideas about what to share. So if you have any questions, if you have any kind of what you're wondering about my art practice or my creativity, philosophies and the way I work and how I find my inspiration and how do I get more and more ideas every day, ask below, definitely, comment below, and then I will try and answer them in the next kind of live video. So today we're talking about 3 reasons why you're feeling like you've lost your creativity or you're feeling stuck. And the first reason is you're out of practice, really. I mean, that's part of why I hadn't come on. I had just taken a break because I'm concentrating on my deliberate doodle students, and then I just hadn't been on Facebook and doing lives and being on video and just interacting in this way for a while, and you just kind of fall out of practice really quickly. And so for you, maybe you were kind of, if you're at that stage where you're like, you were creative once, or you as a kid you used to be really creative, but then now you're just not feeling creative at all. It could be just because you're out of practice, because I really believe excuse me, I really believe that creativity is a habit. It's not a skill. I mean, there are skills involved, and you might need to learn new skills to create the work that you want to create and you're being called to create. But this sense of creativity, that, I guess, essence or whatever it is, it's a habit. And so when you're out of practice, it makes it harder to feel like you can get any ideas or know what to do next, or like feel inspired, whatever that means. And so how do you combat this out of practiceness? Well, you got to get back into it. And that's so easy to say, to just be like, you just got to, fucking do it. And I totally get it when you're feeling really stuck. Like, I was supposed to be doing all these Facebook lives, and I have all these value and training and things I wanted to share and teach on here, and then I haven't done it because I was out of practice. And so you start really, really small. So like, I'm doing my deliberate doodles online workshop with my students, and what I started them on with was like a post-it note exercise to do mark making. Like, my deliberate doodles process is just pen and paper, right? So it's really simple as it is, and yet for some people, because you've been out of practice with your creativity for a long time, that like drawing just feels like so much, and it becomes overwhelming. You think about it too much, and so what you do is you stop thinking so much and you just start really, really small, something like a post-it note exercise, where it's, you're doodling on a post-it note, and it feels like you can just throw it away because it's a post-it note, and it doesn't have that pressure, it doesn't have that sense of bigness that most of you tend to do when it becomes so overwhelming, and like you have to make it incredible, when you just have to start small and get into a practice of it. And practice means you come back to it again, and you come back to it again every day, ideally, because I don't know about you, if I try to only do it once a week, once a week is a good frequency, but if you've been out of practice for a while, again, ease your way into it, keep doing it. That's the whole point of a practice, and build that habit, and then you'll find yourself getting in touch with your creativity in no time. And hi Kat. Yeah, we're talking about 3 reasons why you're feeling creatively stuck, because I was feeling like that, and I've been meaning to share this value. So the first First reason why you're feeling like you've lost your creativity is you're out of practice, and the way to combat that is to pick something really small and to just start. And even though it's so easy to say just start, and that tends to be the hardest part, which gets to my reason number 2, is you hit resistance. So I can just say just start and pick something small, and yet some of you just won't do it. It's because you've hit resistance, and that's reason number 2 for why you've lost your creativity. When you hit resistance, I call it messy middle, and it tends to happen usually when you're in the middle of a project where you started and you're all excited because Brenda said start small and doodle on a post-it note, and it's really simple and you get really excited and you can and then you're almost doing it every day, and then you hit a point where you're like, oh, I can't be bothered, and I've lost all ideas, I've lost my creativity, life gets really, really busy, something else more exciting comes along, and then you realized as you kind of come out of that haze that it's been a week and you haven't touched any of your creative tools, or you haven't done anything creative, and you've just been like a robot and just following and surviving, like me when flu hit my house, and then all I was doing is just surviving. And I'm like on here because of some magic miracle that a baby has gone down. Hi Victoria, how are you? So yes, 2, you hit resistance. That's the second reason why you've lost your creativity. And so back to the first one about just starting, where you pick something small and try not to overthink it and just do something. It's going to be imperfect. It's not going to be ideal. You're probably going to be doing it in the middle of something else, but you know what? You've started, and you start again tomorrow, and you get into the practice, into the habit. And in the second, because you've hit resistance, the second reason why you've lost your creativity or that messy middle and you've lost touch with it again. What's that cat say? That's me unpacking the house and writing my booklet. Yes. So you probably got distracted with, unpacking the house, and it's all very rational and logical. And of course you need to do all those things. And then you kind of lost that momentum. Yes. Try not to overthink it. That's what Kat says. Yes. And as long as so when you've lost the momentum, what do? You, just like when you're pushing a ball up the hill and you've lost the momentum, you have to start one step at a time, and you pick the smallest thing, try not to overthink it. And then with the second one, when you've hit resistance, what do? Well, I'm thinking about this from my Deliberate Doodles course. We also talk about the resistance part and the ideas. I'm not just sharing, how do you draw with pen and paper? Just like any creative work, it isn't just the thing that you're doing. There's also this act of mindfulness, of being aware, of knowing what it is that you're doing, your intentions, where you are, and just knowing yourself and the way that you work with your creativity. And I think a lot of the time when you hit resistance, it's because you suddenly got too stuck on the outcome or the fears that has risen up because you're working on this incredible thing and you're feeling all this creative flow and you're like, I'm amazing and I'm so creative, and then you hit the wall because all the fears come up, because you're rising up to another level, because if you are doing creative work, you're always improving and expanding and doing more. Of course you're going to reach this point that you're not familiar with, and whenever you're not familiar with something, it's always scary and fear comes up, and then so you lose that connection to your original intention. You lose that practice of being mindful. All the fears usually comes up is always about the future. It's always about what's going to happen, how you suck, and everything you're doing is wrong, and all the things that you weren't even thinking about before. It's all coming up now. The good news is, even though you might be reason number 2, if you've just joined, if you're watching the replay, definitely hashtag team replay. I learned this from another group and I really love that idea. So if you're watching live, hashtag team live, so I know that you're here. And if you are watching the replay, hashtag team replay, so that I can still come back. And if you have any questions, definitely comment below and I always come back and check. Kat says, oh Brenda, I love you. Oh, I love you too, Kat. You're always one of my best cheerleading, commenting, and then you set an outline of everything I'm talking about, because half the time all this goodness comes out and I have no idea what I said. So thank you for that. So what I was saying, let's go back. The second reason when you hit resistance, why you've lost your creativity, you know, all the fears that are coming up, all the reasons why you suck, all the reasons why you shouldn't bother, all the reasons why, all the things that might happen if you do kind of keep going, and why would you want to do that, all those things. The good news, that's what I was trying to say. Good news is it is all part of the process. You're actually still being creative. You are actually still part of the creative cycle. And so to counteract that, to help you to get over whatever it is, that resistance, is to be mindful. So in my deliberate doodles process, which I talked about last month, you can check it out. I will put a link, remind me if I don't. I talk about being mindful because my deliberate doodles process, besides being a painter, if you don't know me, I probably should have introduced myself. I'm Brenda, I paint. I also do deliberate doodles, which is intricate abstract drawings, line drawings, black and white, around inspired words. And so the actual act of them are very simple. It is pen on paper, which is why I share that process in my Deliberate Doodles online workshop. And part of that, it is more than just pen on paper. It is more than just making a pretty artwork. All of my art is more than just something beautiful that you can put on your wall. One of that is about this practice of mindfulness, of why you're drawing what you're drawing, why you're doing what you're doing, what is it that you're feeling while you're doing. So as all that resistance is coming up, as you're hitting that wall, just switching back to being mindful to this point of like, why? You know, what exactly is it, the fear? The fear may say it's because you suck and you shouldn't bother and it's too hard and really you have a house to unpack. Totally all legit reasons. But if you're being mindful, then you can check in. What is it exactly that you're actually being scared of? Is it because you're scared that what you're creating is not going to be good enough because you have this constant fear about not being good enough? Is it because if you do finish it and you release it and nobody gives a shit, and that's your fear? That's probably a legitimate fear, you know. Then there's going to be something else you're going to have to work with. Maybe you've got to work on your marketing. And all these things are actually gifts for you, right? Anytime resistance hits, even though it totally sucks and that bitch really needs to die, but on the other hand, it's a gift. It's a gift because you can really, provided that you listen and realize this second reason is not just about the resistance and the messiness, and that's why you've lost your creativity. No, you're actually part of the creative process. You are actually be giving a gift to really check in and be mindful exactly what it is that is stopping you. What is it that's the fear that's truly coming up? Like I wrote a whole booklet about, well, a selection of lies that resistance tells you, and those lies tend to, underneath it, there's a seed, and that seed is usually the fear that is trying to hide behind. I will put a link up to of that, lies of resistance, because it constantly comes up. And part of being mindful means that you also check with yourself, because you're a clever little thing and you're creative, and so your resistance is going to come up with clever and creative reasons why you shouldn't keep going or you shouldn't get back into your creative practice. And so learning and being mindful of that means you learn your flavor of what that resistance looks like, and it also means you find your way of embracing your resistance and working through it, and how do you keep going. And so in all that, okay, back to the first reason for why you are losing your creativity is you're out of practice. The second reason is once you've started and everything and then you suddenly lose your creativity again is because you've hit resistance. And so the first one was to start really small. And so the second one is being mindful of where you're at, and if you kind of change your mindset of what if it's a gift? What if resistance is a gift? And then trying to unpack what that gift is for you. The third reason why you have lost your creativity and you're feeling stuck is, before I do that, let me read some comments. Kat says, #lies of resistance. Yes, great hashtag. And also, even your resistance is creative. Yes, it is, because it's you. It's part of you, which is why I talk about embracing it, because you can't get rid of it. And so why would you want to get rid of yourself? if you can embrace it, then you can find the gift in it. And so if you recognize that, a lot of people talk about how resistance tends to show up and it's so hard and it tends to come up with such clever reason. It's like, no, that's because you're clever and you just been out of practice with working with it and embracing it and trying to find and dig deep what that fear is. And then if you can find the tools that work for you to handle that fear, then you can break that down again slowly and go back to that first reason of why you're feeling stuck because you're out of practice, is to start small. But also at the same time, not just starting small, is to start and then start small. So yeah, hi Callie, we're doing the 3 reasons why you're feeling like you've lost your creativity, you're feeling stuck. And so the first one was that you're out of practice, and the second one is that you've hit resistance, like so you've started and then you've hit resistance. And so now we're up to the third reason why you have lost your creativity, and that is, I'm looking at my notes, that's why if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes, it's you're disconnected. Originally it was supposed to be you're distracted, but you're distracted because you're disconnected from your creativity. And so part of that means you've lost focus, you know, you've been out of practice, you've hit resistance. And so a lot of the time when you've got that kind of combination together, you completely disconnect from your creativity, from yourself, and then you get distracted by, you know, life things. Kids are sick, you're moving house, you're, you know, going overseas, your work suddenly has projects and all kinds of stuff. And so when you don't have the habit, it means you don't have the tools that you can rely on to kind of come back to it, like simple, small things. Because I find for a lot of us, and I'm included in this, when you suddenly decide, like, you know, you are sick of being stuck and being like lost your creativity, you're gonna do this huge project, which is what I did to myself. And then I didn't end up doing any of my Facebook lives that I wanted to do. And it's like, no, you need to, so the third reason, you need to be connected and to get back into the habit of it and recognize the resistance that came up, and that is by starting small. And when you have that habit, it means you know the tools that kind of work for you, because you've also been mindful of what your flavor of resistance is. It means you know what you need to do to work with yourself, with your resistance, to kind of get you back to it and to reconnect to your creativity. And so what happens then is that when you're lost that focus and you're disconnected, part of what you need also is a community. It's also why, like, I love Facebook groups. It's why I have a mastermind. It's why I attached a Facebook group to my online workshops. It's so that you have a community of creatives, of whoever it is that, you know, that resonate with you, that have the same heart as you, have the same goals as you, whatever it is, so that when you're disconnected and you're out of practice and you've hit resistance, or any one of those at any time, it means you can tap back into that collective creative juju, right? And so being disconnected, and you do this to yourself as well. I don't know if you're like me, when I'm feeling totally uncreative and I've hit resistance, I'm out of practice and life has just like completely thrown all kinds of shitballs at me, I tend to disconnect and withdraw into myself, right? Because you're like, I'm going to like buckle down and just try and deal with all the mental, physical and, you know, life stuff. And so then what happens is then you disconnect not only from the outside world, then you kind of disconnect from your creativity, and then you keep being out of practice and the resistance gets bigger and bigger. And so you get caught up, is what my note says. You get caught up in the mess and all the stuff that you're in, as opposed to reconnecting back to what the original intention was, what the end goal that you were working towards, what that calling, that artwork, that creative project, that, you know, whatever it is that you needed that your creativity for, that you're working on, right? And so not just connection to your creativity, but connection to your original intention and to your end goals. And so then you also disconnect from your community. And if you don't have that community, definitely find that. Like, you can hang out here at my Facebook page. If you join my Deliberate Doodles group, there's a Facebook group, and the students have their own kind of Facebook group, and then that's incredible because then they're doing the work, and even though they may have gone through their alarm, they can still come back when you're disconnected, when you're feeling you know, you've lost your creativity. You can tap into the collective creative energy and that creative, and there's a magic when, you know, a bunch of people gather together, and then you can be encouraged and reminded that, hey, maybe you just hit resistance and it's totally okay. It is part of the cycle. Or maybe you're just out of practice. This is another way that you can start small. And it's Monique here. Hi, Monique, if you're on. Kat says, solution, reconnect, use your community. Yes, use your community. And to really, to understand that by having that community, it means you have that connection. It also means you can, hi Monique. It means that we're talking about the third reason why you've lost your creativity, and that is because you're disconnected. So disconnected from yourself, from your creativity, and from your community. If you don't have a community, definitely get one, surround yourself with it, whether online or in person, because I find with a community, it means you reconnect. It means you can tap into everyone else's creative energy and creative juju when you feel like you've lost yours. And also you commit, because when you have a community of people, they hold you to what you say your intentions are. I'm going to finish this project. I'm going to, you know, get back into the practice of my creative work. And so that commitment to that connection and that community is how you can continuously be in that creative flow and be able to focus even when life throws shit at you. And so yes, community is equal to connection. Thank you, Kat. Your comments, so gold. So yes, that's my 3 reasons. There's probably more, but the 3 reasons why you've lost your creativity. Let's recap. Number 1, it's because you have been out of practice. And to combat that, you start small, whether it's a post-it note exercise like I share in my Deliberate Doodles work. It's whatever it is, it's a small, simple step, but the trick is to start small, but also to start. And the second one is, hi Aisha. The second reason why you've lost your creativity is that you've hit resistance. So you've tried, you know, you started small, you're getting into the practice, into the habit of it, and then you hit resistance, and that's why you feel like you've lost your creativity. The good news is that's actually part of the creative cycle. So you haven't lost it. It's all lies. # lies of resistance. I wrote a whole booklet on that. And so the way to combat that resistance is to be mindful. It's to reconnect back to your intentions, to be aware of what it is that you're saying to yourself, and to really dig deep and find what that fear, excuse me, I'm so excited, what that fear is that that is underneath that resistance. Kelly says, sorry, I haven't been actively commenting. Changing poopy diapers. Well, listen, yeah, see, your mums are always the most creative because they always find different ways to do all kinds of stuff. So the second reason when you hit resistance, to combat that, is to be mindful, to reconnect back to your intentions, and to really dig deep. Mindfulness is so that you know, aware of what it is that you're saying to yourself, and try and figure out what that fear is that's underneath, that's really, you know, bringing that resistance to life. And then you can work out what your flavor of it is and how you can get back into your creative work and into that creative flow, because you are mindful, you've been getting back into the habit of it, and you have the tools that you need to do that. And the third reason why you've lost your creativity is because you're disconnected. You're disconnected from your creativity because you've been out of practice. You're disconnected from from yourself, your creativity, and from yourself and from the community. So then you're not only just out of practice, but you get stuck in the messy middle and you don't have the tools to help you out of it. And that community is what's going to bring you back. It's going to bring you back to yourself. It's going to remind you of your commitment to your work and to your creativity. And then you can also tap into that collective creative flow as well. And so, yes, I hope that was helpful today. Thank you, Kat. And everyone, Monique, Kelly, and whoever else is here, if you're watching the replay, definitely still comment and write any questions you may have, or insights or ahas, and which of the 3 reasons that really kind of resonates with you the most, and what you're going to do today to kind of break yourself out of that and to get back into a place where you're always feeling creative, even if you might be busy, resistance is coming up, and you're in self-sabotage, whatever it is, you're still in that creative cycle. What are you going to do? So which one resonates most with you. I would love to know. And I'm hoping to do more of these kind of valuable training, sharing things. So definitely comment, because your comments is what gives me even more ideas, even though I'm bursting with ideas, which is why I got totally overwhelmed and I didn't want to do these videos, which is why I had to go back to what I shared, starting small, doing what I can, get back into the habit of it. And I totally tapped into my community of my mastermind sisters who are showing up today and getting into that creative flow that way as well. And so I will put a link as well to the Deliberate Doodles online workshop if you're interested in that, or the Lies of Resistance booklet. I think I mentioned that too. And if there's anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks, gorgeous Monique. Yes, and Monique says, yes, I can't wait to learn more from you. Oh, thank you. I can't wait to share more. I do, whenever I just show up, you're right, whenever I just show up, there's all kinds of stuff just bursting to come out. My frustration is never, where do I get inspiration from? It's always, what else could I make? What else can I make? And so having a structure and a formula to really kind of channel all of this out is really good for my creativity. Good for you too. If you keep losing that practice, you're gonna lose the ideas. So always keep going. Yes, I will see you next time.